we had in one of the groups, I had a mom with a 4-year-old boy looking for Pokemon cards. He just started getting into it. I have thousands of bulk Pokemon cards just sitting in boxes from when I was opening packs on Twitch regularly. And she knew nothing about the game, wanted to figure out the best way to get into the game for him. And reaching out to people like that really, really helps me. So I ended up sending the little boy a couple hundred bulk cards just to get his collection started. I sent him Pokemon stickers I had, a couple packs I had sealed. And obviously they received it. The mom came back to me, appreciated everything I did. And she's actually come back to my website to purchase a few other, Pokemon, and actually Lorcana from me as well.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Match Slip Podcast. I'm your host, Frank, and on today's show, we have John from the Enchanted Deck out in Pennsylvania. I'll have him pronounce the city that his store is in. What's very interesting is his store is an online-only store at the moment. So, John, what can you tell us about your store, how it got started, and why you decided to go with an online route to start?
So it's actually kind of a funny story. We're actually pretty new still. So back in July of 2023, so again, not that long ago, I was watching one of my friends. She's a streamer on Twitch, and she does those rip and ship streams with Pokemon cards. And watching a couple other streamers, and I was like, you know what? I think I could do this. So me and my buddy Josh from work, I actually was talking to him, going back and forth about it, and we decided we were going to do our own rip and ship type stream with Pokemon. So if you're not familiar with the style, it's literally just Pokemon cards or any other trading card game in general, opening the packs on stream, and then if people order them, then you ship their cards out to them. If they don't order them, you can rip your own packs and start your collection right there in front of the audience. And that's kind of what we wanted to do. And we did that for a little bit, or a couple months, several months actually. We started again back in July. We were originally going to wait for the Pokemon 151 release, which, if I remember correctly, was September, maybe November. I don't remember when that came out, but that was our original plan. But I wanted to get the ball rolling, and we got the LLC created and up and running in July. So we were just in time for the Obsidian Flames launch. So that was our first set we actually opened on stream together. And we only exclusively did Pokemon back then. Again, we did that for a few months. I kind of had the idea, and I was playing around with just growing the company beyond just Pokemon. Like I was big into Magic, so I play Magic the Gathering. That's like my go-to card game, and I wanted to kind of focus on some of the top 5 trading card games, and brought that idea to Josh. He liked the idea, but our biggest problem was we didn't really have a distributor at the time, so we were really doing the stream for fun. So really, we didn't really have any margin or profits coming in. All we did was we created the website that we have now, or I created the website that we have now, and we sold product from local game stores from around this area here in Schwanksville, Pennsylvania, is how it's pronounced. So we purchased cards from local shops, and we sold at the same cost we purchased, plus whatever our processing fees would be. So again, it was just a fun thing to do. We did it 1 to 2 times a week. And then I found out I was having a baby. So priorities kind of changed a little bit, and I had to pull back from the streaming. We only did it once a week. And then once I did have my daughter, I took a hiatus from streaming. So I was on parental leave from my full-time job. Really started thinking. I want to say I haven't had a lot of time, but I really didn't have a lot of time. I had a lot of time in my head where I was thinking about the stream and what we could do next. And I really wanted to broaden it. I knew I wasn't going to have as much time to stream, or I wasn't going to be able to designate like 1 day a week, 2 days a week anymore to the stream, but I wanted to stay in the trading card business. So I thought of the idea, and I kind of separated myself from our stream, which was known as Ace Trainer EX at the time. I separated myself from that Um, and Josh took a step away from the stream as well. And I actually rebranded the LLC to what's known now as the Enchanted Deck, solely focusing on online sales um, in multiple trading cards. So we started off as Pokemon only stream, turned into a Pokemon only website, and have grown the brand a little bit past that now. Like if you go to our website, you'll find things like Lorcana, which has actually been huge for me. Um, so I went into thinking that I was going to be a Pokemon salesman, and turned into a Lorcana salesman who sometimes does Pokemon stuff on the side now. Um, and really growing the brand. If you look at the site today, you'll see that I also have One Piece cards, Dragon Ball Z cards, and singles have just been posted on there now. So that's kind of like the little gist of how we got started. Went through a few different name iterations in there during my time off in parental leave, but the Enchanted Deck stuck, and we've been known as that since about January of this year. So again, hasn't been around too long.
What would you say have been the ups and downs with running an online store? Because you have, the issues that people will incur from a monetary standpoint with, a brick and mortar store having the costs involved in that. On the flip side of it, from your standpoint, from a purely online standpoint, what are some of the ups and downs you face? Would you consider them similar to a brick and mortar store, or would you say it's pretty different?
Um, I'm sure there's some similarities between the two. Not owning a brick and mortar, it's kind of hard for me to gauge where some of the ups and downs are from there. The biggest thing, and this is probably the big difference between the two, though, is actually getting a distributor. So again, when we were Twitch stream, we we couldn't get a distributor. Distributors wouldn't give us contracts with their company to purchase products from them at a discounted rate. So we had no profit margins doing that. Um, Going to online only, there's still this hesitation with some retailers, or I'm sorry, not retailers, distributors, um, with online only stores. The market has been, or the online market has been flooded since the pandemic. There's so many websites out there now trying to do it. Distributors can only allocate so many products to certain websites. And finally, finding a distributor that was willing to help you, they usually give you limitations to what kind of products you can purchase. Like, I don't want to spread any names here, but my first distributor that actually did take me in, since when I changed to the Enchanted Deck, only allowed me to purchase Pokemon products from them, which was fine at the time because that's all I was really focusing on. But trying to grow my business, it was difficult only being able to purchase Pokemon products at that, you know, wholesale pricing to generate some profits or margin there. That's the biggest or not drawback, but ups or downs for running an online only. I mean, being a brick and mortar, you don't really have that issue. They usually accept brick and mortar stores like that. Like even my reps at the distributors are asking, like, when are you doing brick and mortar? We want to start doing more business with you, but we can only allocate you so much product right now because you're online only, which really is kind of a bummer for me, and I'm sure other people in the online only business style.
What would you say at this point is the likelihood of a brick and mortar store coming about to then being able to have more product coming in from the distributor?
So it's definitely something in my what I want. It's what I want to do. Back when I was a streamer, it was in my 5 year plan, as I'm going to refer to it as. I don't know if it's really a 5 year plan. It's kind of like a plan for the future. But it is something I've been considering for several months now. It's something I really want to do. Um, when is it going to happen? I'm not 100% certain. I want to do it right. So the first time I get into it, I want to make sure it's it's good. Like all these other stores are getting the WPN certification. Like that's something I want to be able to obtain before I going in knowing that's the kind of store I want to open. I don't want to open a small rinky dink shop. It needs to be, in my opinion, perfect. Um, and with my daughter now, I don't have too much time right now working full time plus having her. Um, so I'm thinking, hopefully in the near future, maybe when she's a little bit older, it's something I'm going to fully consider. So hopefully in the next couple years would be the ideal target point for me to open an actual brick and mortar store. Plenty of good locations around here that don't have a local game shop. There are a handful in the area, but there's prime areas around me that still don't have anything. So I'm really looking forward to getting into that field at some point soon.
How would you describe like the Magic the Gathering scene, Lorcana, or even Pokemon to, people listening to this that may wonder what the popularity is for a game store in your area? Because like you were mentioning, there isn't really one in your particular area that's, I would guess, I would imagine like within close driving distance. So how do you gauge the audience there in terms of the player base as to the viability of how successful or not it would be? How do you make those decisions?
So I'm just going off of like what I'm seeing on my website. Probably not the best thing to do if I'm looking at starting a brick and mortar in this area. But I've worked with and I've gotten to know a lot of the local shop owners around this area. Like we have one shop 15 minutes away from here. They almost exclusively do Pokemon. So I know there's a massive Pokemon following, at least in this area. They have trade days. They run tournaments, things like that. So I know there's a big Pokemon audience currently. Magic the Gathering. I know we have another local shop that runs. They're probably about a half hour away though. They run Magic tournaments pretty frequently. On top of that, they do like Flesh and Blood or yeah, Flesh and Blood, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments are another big one in this area, or at least for that shop. The only one I'm really not certain of is Lorcana. I think it's such a difficult product to kind of pinpoint of the at least the popularity for the player base. They're they're difficult to find in this area. When you do find them, it's usually scalpers or resellers just taking the entire shelf to sell them online. Um, so I don't. That would be the one thing that or the one game that I would question the most, at least in this area, of how well that would do in terms of like tournaments, if you would. I know the product would sell, but in terms of running tournaments or things like that, I just wouldn't be too certain about Lorcana. But some of the bigger popular games, we would definitely um, would see. It's just pinpointing the right location to open a new brick and mortar store, if you would, to kind of grow that player base even further past the few shops we have spread out around here.
When it comes to games like Lorcana and the massive popularity it had when it first was launched, and you had mentioned that you have become more of Lorcana story, started off with the Pokemon. I know you still do the Pokemon, but I'm curious as to how you've handled that with the distributors. I've heard other game stores talk about this, so I was curious as an online only store, your take on the matter.
In terms of like allocation of the Lorcana product, is that where you're?
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah,
Yeah, difficulty in acquiring the product because of the demand being
yeah,
so high.
it's still really hard. Um, like something I've been doing recently. I've been going to some of the conventions around the area to kind of spread the brand name around a little bit. There's booths of other stores there that received, for example, Into the Inklands, the most recent chapter 3 set. Um, Other stores were getting it way before I did. I only get received like a single display box when I first ordered product. They don't. It's really hard for a small company like me to to get my hands on the product as a whole. I've since then received a few other things. I'm looking right next to me at my inventory. I've been lucky enough to finally get that allocation, but it's been several weeks since the release, so the downside for me is not having it readily available. Um, so I'm really missing out on like the pre-order bonuses. Like I can't. I don't want to take pre-orders knowing that I would have someone's money for I don't know how long until I can get the allocation from my distributors, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a challenge to overcome, especially like you mentioned, with not wanting to hold on to money that you don't know when you can fulfill it.
Right.
So, with that being the case, on your day to day with the business, what do your tasks involve doing? Because I'm sure there's differences as it relates to a brick and mortar store. So I'm curious from an online standpoint, what you have to do day to day to keep the business running.
Yeah, so something that I found extremely crucial is managing my online ads. So when I first started running the Enchanted Deck, I was testing out a few things, running Google ads and like social media ads on Facebook and Instagram, and was kind of gauging because they both give you some like insights to how effective your ads have been. So I was testing out both of them originally, seeing what was driving the most traffic to my website, and seeing who was purchasing the most from those clicks and like where those clicks came from, if you would. And managing that, I almost look at that. I do look at it multiple times a day to see how well those currently run ads are doing. I don't run Google ads anymore. It didn't seem profitable enough for me. It wasn't really driving traffic to my store, but I do run Facebook and Instagram ads uh, regularly, and I try and change them up every week or so. I'll change it up either with updated pricing, or if I get new inventory, I'll kind of post a new ad to show that off. Um, but like I said, I look at those ad clicks multiple times a day. Something else I do is looking at my website analytics, looking at the traffic incoming to the website, what those shoppers are looking at to see if I can maybe do better or maybe stock more inventory in a certain thing. Like if, for example, if someone's looking at Lorcana first chapter packs, I do have them on my website. They're just super difficult to get a hold of. But like, how many people are going to that? Do I need to try and focus on getting more of that type of product in, um, compared to something else? Like right now, I'm focusing on growing my my product selections. I wanted a website that has something for everyone, not just solely focus on Pokemon. So looking at those analytics on my website through those ads, through my website hosting analytics, that really helps me kind of gauge my business. And I do it regularly throughout the day, multiple times a day. Honestly, almost constantly throughout the day, I'm on there looking at my analytics like that and getting to the insights I need.
What are some of the most important insights you would say you gather? Because I'm thinking of the marketing standpoint from Facebook, where you can get very highly targeted to, attract the customer base that you're looking to attract.
Mhm.
So, based on when you retrieve that information, what have you seen in terms of results from that advertising as it relates back to whether it's people liking your page or sales? Have you seen a significant like return on that investment?
Yeah, so something I just actually started doing, and I probably should have done it a few months ago. Again, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but the online like TCG or collectibles shops are have blown up since the pandemic. And a lot of people started their own shops, um, whether they're flipping product or you know they have distributor access like I do now. There's so many different websites out there. It's those insights help me kind of separate myself from the rest of the pack, if you would. And something I just started doing, I actually just created a Trust Pilot page because I think there's a lot of shady websites out there, a lot of fakes, a lot of scam websites out there. So looking at there's my cat behind me. Looking at some of my insights, um, and now kind of branching out, advertising the Trust Pilot reviews to kind of show people that we're a welcoming store. We're not a scam. We're not anything like that. Sending out that Trust Pilot review scoring we have on every single order that comes through. Um, has really helped my business, and it's something I didn't think of right away, but it was one of the downsides of me, or something I wanted to fix in the online community with these TCG websites, if that makes sense at all. Just separating myself, looking at my reviews. I've gotten a lot of those reviews come in through Trustpilot so far. I just started that a couple weeks ago, so we're not, you know, not too many reviews so far, but it is definitely giving me good feedback through those reviews, and a lot of that comes from those insights on those like those Facebook ads, things like that.
That's great that you're getting the feedback. I'm curious as to how you go about building community, not just from a marketing standpoint, but taking what you have available to you from an online store, not being able to have people, come into your store physically. I'm curious how you go about building community and if you've been able to develop, relationships with the customers that have been purchasing from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So something like I just mentioned before, I just started going to some of the conventions around the area. So last month, 2 months ago, I just went to the New Jersey trading card game show. That's actually closer to New York, so it's about an hour and a half away from me. But it was an affordable show. Like the tables weren't too expensive, um, and I use that and I use that to grow my brand. So I have. I'm looking for my cards now. I have little business cards that I hand out to every customer that I see or anyone comes to my table with QR codes that go directly to my site. Um, I have a Linktree page that's also connected to that QR code, so people can visit all my social media pages. They can view the Trustpilot page as well. Um, and I'm hoping to do a couple more conventions. There doesn't seem to be too many around the Pennsylvania area, which really stinks. If they are, there's some of the bigger like SCG Con just happened in the area, and there's another one I can't remember the name. That's just timing is so poor. So I'm really focusing on going to more of these conventions to spread out the name of the Enchanted Deck. And on top of that, something I did start doing as well was joining some of these buy sell trade groups on Facebook actually. So I started building my brand through that as well. Like when people are searching for a specific product, if I have it, messaging them directly, letting them know, like showing them my trust pilot reviews again. Like I keep pushing that home. Um, and showing them that I have the product available for them to purchase. I'm a safe seller as well. I'm not like someone scamming them through Facebook Marketplace. Um, I've definitely seen some return investments from some of those people I did reach out to on again like Facebook buy sell trade groups for like Pokemon and Lorcana specifically. On top of that, I had if I can, I'm not going to say her name here, but something that I did recently that kind of meant a lot to me. We had in one of the groups I had a mom with a 4-year-old boy looking for Pokemon cards. He just started getting into it. I have thousands of bulk Pokemon cards just sitting in boxes from when I was opening packs on Twitch regularly. And she knew nothing about the game, wanted to figure out the best way to get into the game for him. And reaching out to people like that really, really helps me. So I ended up sending the little boy a couple hundred bulk cards just to get his collection started. I sent him Pokemon stickers I had, a couple packs I had sealed, and obviously they received it. The mom came back to me, appreciated everything I did, and she's actually come back to my website to purchase a few other Pokemon and actually Lorcana from me as well to start her own collection of Disney cards. So it's different than a brick and mortar store. Obviously, people aren't going to come into my house here, which is my shop and my warehouse. So it's really getting your name out there through these conventions and obviously the Facebook ads, but also being a person, being an actual salesman to people through these buy sell trade groups as well.
In many cases, when it comes to conventions, I know you had alluded to it a little bit, but the cost of the booths to be able to set up to them, you have like the big ones like SCG Con. Do you anticipate? I know the cost will play a factor, but do you anticipate attending any of those bigger ones as well as the local ones that you're already doing when they're available?
I would love to. Um, right now, based on the budget for the current like the company right now, I don't have the marketing, or I'm sorry, I don't know if I want to call it the marketing budget, but I don't have like the convention budget to put out the money for some of these tables cost like $1,500. It's just not in the cards right now. Selling almost exclusively sealed product, there's not that much margin. Um, so hopefully growing the business, I just started posting singles on there, which obviously do have a little bit more margin to grow the business further. I would love to be at these bigger cons. Um, I want to kind of give a shout out to one of the bigger cons I am sponsoring actually is the Great Media Comic Con. That is in April, actually a month from now. I won't be there as a booth, but I'm sponsoring it and I'll be walking around having fun there. But yes, at the end of the day, I would love to be at some of these bigger conventions, and that is hopefully in the near future.
And I'm sure it'll happen for you, just like everything. Everything takes some time to
Yeah,
develop, but yeah, I think you'll definitely get to do that. That'll
yeah.
be
So like
great
I
too
said,
to
we're
get
only
more.
about 3 months in, and selling sealed product. The margins aren't like blowing up right now, um, but yeah, it'd be something I would love to do. I loved working at the conventions. I used to be a salesman for Best Buy for like 10 years, so working at cons or it's not even work. It's just fun for me to be there and talking to people and showing people my products.
We're going to take a quick break from this podcast to talk about our sponsor, Cardboard Shuffle. Cardboard Shuffle was our 10th podcast interview here at the Match Slip with store owner Mark. Mark has expanded his brand and has produced his own card sleeves called Shuffle Shields. Shuffle Shields come in packs of 100 premium matte card sleeves for standard size trading cards. They contain no PVC and are acid free. I have 17 packs of Shuffle Shields card sleeves to give away to listeners of the podcast and followers of the Match Slip on social media. Requests for a free pack of card sleeves shipped for free to you will be processed on a first-come, first-served basis. To receive your free pack of Shuffle Shields, you'll need to send a screenshot that you're following Cardboard Shuffle on Facebook to frank@thematchlip.com.
What are some of I know you mentioned Magic being one of the games you've enjoyed. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship just to the hobby as an overall and when you decided to make that switch that you wanted to open up your own business? Like what was it just the passion for it or did something along the way lead to I think I need to do this?
Yeah, so I'll go back a little bit in my life here. So as a kid, I grew up with Pokemon. Pokemon was huge when it came out in the '90s, and I was 6, 7 when it came out. I can't remember exactly, maybe even 5. But I always collected the cards. I never played Pokemon. I always collected them. Got a little bit older, stopped really collecting cards, and turned into like collectible like figures, thing like you see behind me or above me here, pop vinyls, collector edition games, retro game consoles. I love collecting things, whether it was trading cards or a figure or a plush, whatever. It was always something I did. Um, a couple years ago, I actually haven't been playing Magic too long, but a few years ago, my buddies invited me to play with them. And again, never touched the game. It's probably 3 or 4 years ago now, but I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'm not the best at card games because I'm not very strategic. But they invited me over and we did a Magic draft. As soon as I did that first draft, I was immediately hooked back into the trading card game world. So I was always like, oh, when are we doing a Magic draft again? Like, let's get another booster box. Let's do this again. And that was something I don't go over as often anymore, but me and my friends were doing a weekly meetup, whether it was playing trading card games like Magic, it could be board games, other card games, whatever the case may be. I still try and do that with them. I know they play games a lot more than I do anymore. I just don't have the time as much as I used to, at least. Um, but that definitely impacted my view on the business as a whole, and really kind of sparked that I want to start collecting again. I want to play these card games again, and it impacted my decision to get into the business, being around those cards more frequently, getting to know new trading card games that I didn't play as a kid or whatever the case may be. Like Magic's been around forever, and I just started playing it in my late 20s. So
I know you mentioned you don't have as much time now to play games, because you mentioned you have a full-time job, you have a baby, you have the business. I'm curious how you manage your time with all that, because that is a lot to unpack and just, take hold of on a day-to-day basis. So
mhm.
what is your like process for managing all three of those things?
I'm a pretty not to toot my own horn here, but I'm a pretty organized guy. Um, Obviously, the family comes first. My daughter's number one. My wife, obviously, right there with her. Um, you don't see them now, but I also have a bunch of pets at home too, which also need some loving and some attention. They're my number one priority. Obviously, after that is my full time job. I do work in IT, but I am blessed enough to only work partially in an office, and I mostly work from home in this office here. So I have a lot of time at home. So if I do need to step away from the computer or whatever the case may be, I can. I can go take care of my daughter or the animals or whatever I have to do. Probably shouldn't say this, but being able to work from home, I'm able to kind of track those insights, look at my website, I'm constantly updating my website. Um, and I have the time to do it during the day, or I try to make the time to do it during the day because this is a passion of mine, and I've always wanted to run my own business, and making the time for it is important to me because I do want to see it grow. I don't want it to drop or anything like that. So it's I'm lucky enough to be able to manage it with my current full time job.
You had mentioned you spend a lot of time on the website, your background, working in IT. Did you custom develop your website, like, from scratch?
It's not. I don't do HTML coding or anything like that. So it's actually hosted by Squarespace, which makes it super easy. Um, it is all completely made by me, just again with the pre-configured stuff through Squarespace. There's a little bit of HTML coding injected in there. Like my coding isn't like I don't know too much of it, so I'm able to do a couple things here and there to add to the website. But yeah, I completely customized it myself. I designed it. I update it myself. I manage it all somehow on my own.
So one of the things I'm curious about, because I know, being in a similar boat like having a full-time job doing this on the side, do you wind up spending, like, a lot of your weekends, like, when, you've obviously tended to your family and your pets, do you spend a lot of time on the weekends doing work related to the Enchanted Deck?
Oh yeah, for sure. I used to be a big gamer. I still do play games. Like I emailed you about it before. I'm a big World of Warcraft fan. Um, I used to play it nonstop. It's just not the case anymore. A lot of my time does go into updating or doing something with the Enchanted Deck, whether it's just looking at the website or updating it. It's either weekend time or after the baby goes to bed time is spent on doing something with the Enchanted Deck. And honestly, I don't think of it as work. It's fun to me. Um, if I change something or if I want to change something, I'll even text my buddies. I'm like, "Yo, go check this out. Let me know how you think about it, or is there something I can do different with this?" To kind of get their feedback from like a customer point of view, if you would, to see how I can improve it, and then either teaching myself how to do it through Squarespace, um, or just actively changing something. A lot of my time does go into that now. I still try and make time for World of Warcraft. I do raid 2 days a week, but that's about the extent of my gaming anymore.
I know you were saying over email to me about the rating has with Twitch. I'm curious if doing Twitch has been able to act as almost like a marketing funnel back to your business in any way.
So I actually don't stream games on Twitch. So I was only focusing back when we started. I was only focusing on um, opening packs on stream. If you go to my website, right on the front page, we advertise streaming on Twitch. That's still solely focused on opening packs. Um, no gaming involved. It's some of my buddies, some of our followers we've gotten over the years pop into our stream. We'll sell them some product, or I'll just open my own products I had sitting aside that I wanted to rip myself. Um, and then that's it. So I use Twitch specifically for my business to help grow it. Advertising the stream, or I'm sorry, advertising the website through the stream, selling the products through the stream. I've had like other like some of the local shops around here, just talking to some of the owners like, hey, would you want to stream here, sell my products? I'm like, that sounds nice and fun, but I kind of want to sell my own stuff. Um, but it's Twitch is exclusively for growing the brand.
And how have you found it working as compared to, like, say, Facebook for growing your brand there?
I don't do it as frequently as I would like to. Again, I used to have that set schedule 1 to 2 days a week. I don't really do that anymore since my daughter was born. I've actually think I've only streamed once since we switched to the Enchanted Deck. And I try and push those streams at least when new product comes out for Pokemon, because a lot of my follower base on Twitch are Pokemon fans, because that's how the Twitch started, was through Pokemon rips. So I tend to try and stream specifically when new packs come out. So next week, when the new set Temporal Forces comes out, I probably won't stream on the release date, but probably at least the following week. So the 29th or something. Yeah, 29th, I'll probably be streaming, opening new packs of Temporal Forces, talking about the site, just getting people on that site to drive business there. And again, something important to me is pushing those Trustpilot reviews from new purchasers or reoccurring customers who didn't know about my review site as well. If that makes sense, hopefully.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm curious too, from, you're running this business and you have to make decisions along the way. What, when going into this, or even, as you're in it as we speak, what are some of the difficult decisions that you face on a day-to-day basis? Not necessarily the ups and downs like we talked about before, but like whether it be, I'm going to buy this product or I have to pass
Yeah.
on this product this time, factoring in costs into the matter.
Yeah. So that's one of the, I mean, you hit the nail on the head right there. It's what products do I want to invest in? So my company started off with me and my buddy Josh, who both put in, I don't know, $100 or whatever it was each to buy a booster box of Obsidian Flames. That's how the company started. That was our funds, was like $200. And it's now grown to, I now in my house, I don't have a warehouse. It's my house. I have several $1,000s worth of products, and it's trying to decide what I can spend my money on, or what I should spend my money on, what's going to be profitable. What are the market costs on some of these products? And a lot of it goes into research through websites like TCG Player, for example, like what's profitable right now. Like for example, One Piece is huge. Not something I've ever played. I have a couple buddies that play it. It's super difficult to get a hold of, but I know now that I finally have gotten my hands on some, I know I'm going to be profitable on it. So it's really doing my research through these different like websites or avenues of like, talking to people on Facebook or talking to these other local game shop owners, like what's profitable for them. It's really, what am I going to spend my relatively small budget on to turn a profit.
And with not having a warehouse to store the product that you have, is your room that you're in right now, your office, is that where you store everything, or do you have another area in the house that your wife lets you put stuff in?
So in my basement, I got shipping supplies. I have, you can't see it, but there's a shelf next to me full of Pokemon and Lorcana. In my wife's office, I have a couple drawers full of more Lorcana, One Piece, Dragon Ball Z now. It's all organized. It's just taking up now consuming my house.
Are you thinking of a point where you're going to have to maybe not get a warehouse, but maybe get like storage space, like in a offsite or something like that?
Yeah, so that's the downside though. Is I would love to do that, but at the same time, I like to, and I like to push out my product as soon as an order comes in. I want to get it out. I don't want to keep the product waiting from the customer. That's always something I've been passionate on, is turnaround time. Like I mean, you order from some of these websites and it can take like a week or two sometimes to get to you. I don't want to be that way. So I like having the inventory right here. I need better organization for sure. So I might have to lose some of my fun little posters or something behind me, and maybe put up shelves for more storage. Um, uh, I'm still thinking about it. I don't know how to handle it. My basement has plenty of room, but there's too much moisture down there to keep trading cards. I don't want to get into that route to ruin my product as well. I got to think about. I got to think of a different avenue for it, but I'm just not there yet.
How do you find all the product currently? Because I can imagine it could be difficult to catalog everything. Do you have like something on the computer that you catalog stuff to know where you've put stuff, or is it less involved than what I'm thinking?
Well, I mean, I have spreadsheets that go over the products, the costs, the what I'm selling it for, but the location of the products, I'm pretty good with it. I know where every one of my things are, or wherever I have it in the house, I know exactly where it is. So as soon as something sells, I know where to go and pick it up. If someone else were to come over here to take over and fill in for me for a day, which doesn't happen, but if it did happen, they would be completely lost. It's all up here.
All just from experience of where you've put it, you've kind of just memorized it at this
Yep,
point.
exactly.
So, with the number of online retailers that you made mention of earlier in the podcast, I was curious, what are some things you do to sit yourself out from the crowd? I know you mentioned the quick turnaround time with shipping. I was wondering if you could talk about anything else that you feel that's unique to your store.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's unique, but really why I wanted to focus on this on like an online website was because there's so many websites out there that are just so poorly designed. They're not user friendly. There's just stuff everywhere. I won't shout out any names, but before I started or before I created my website, I listed out websites that I would visit frequently, to purchase like products for myself, and like what's good about this, what's bad about this site, whether it was product availability, organization was horrible, whatever. And I went through and I decided I want to have a welcoming, user friendly website, nothing crazy, no ads all over the place. Like some of these websites have categories just listed everywhere, and it's just so unwelcoming to users and overwhelming in all honesty. So I designed my website to hopefully be easy to use, easy to navigate. You know exactly what you're getting, um, and like you said, the quick turnaround time is huge for me. Get that product in the person's hand.
You know, I actually visited your website before we started the podcast. It's one of the things I always do
Mhm.
with every store I interview. I always check out their website, and I have to say, yours is very clean, very easy to
Thank
use.
you. I appreciate that.
I,
I
I,
was
I
probably
truly,
editing it while you were looking at it too. So
yeah, I'm not just saying that either. I thought it was very clean. I was
thank
very
you.
impressed.
That means a lot to me.
Oh, happy to hear that, things are going well with it as well. That's, always the upside of it all, that, customers are getting what they want and you're able to facilitate it in a way that's easy for them to find what it is they want.
Yeah, I mean, it's you got to think about the customer base too. It's sometimes you're not always going to have like those the person the product's for isn't always going to be the one going to those websites. Sometimes you have people visiting to purchase products not for them. They might have no clue what they're buying. They just know that so and so or like whomever their significant other, their child, whatever, their friend wants this product. So they might not be familiar with the core product itself. So making a streamlined website is important for all sorts of customers, the customer base as a whole.
That's an excellent point too, because you even talked about it earlier with the mother who you helped out who
Yeah,
didn't know anything
yeah,
about,
exactly.
Pokemon. And so how, like in that scenario, how were you able to, granted it was more generic in terms of that, it was just, both Pokemon cards just looking to get started. But if we went down the route of a more sophisticated standpoint where what I mean by that is the player, say, is, the parent's kid and, the son wants such and such a card, but the parent has no idea about it. How do you now facilitate to try to gather the information you need to be able to know what they might be asking for when they themselves don't know exactly how to ask it? Because, the difficulty in that is, it'd be one thing if they came into a brick and mortar store and you can get a better idea, but say maybe over email or, like that, maybe more of a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier in the podcast here, I have a background in sales. I worked in sales for over 10 years. So it's always kind of something that came naturally to me or like something I've learned just over the years of working in retail. It's questioning your customers, getting to know them on a personal or somewhat personal level, if you would, um, and trying to figure out exactly what they're purchasing. So generally, they have an idea of what someone wants or what they're looking for. It comes down to asking the right questions and offering a proper solution based on what they're trying to tell you. So, um, for example, again, that I had another another customer who came to me saying, "Hey, I want to get started in Lorcana. Like, I have this. Like, this is my budget right now. Like, what do I do? Where do I start?" And it comes down to, like, they gave me their budget, which is always nice to know, so you can kind of gauge what you want to offer them, or try and sell to them. So either here's one solution, which in this case was you can buy, I don't know, eight packs, and you get like 100 cards or 120 cards, whatever the math comes out to. You also have, if you're going to be playing the game, or if you want to learn how to play the game, or play with a buddy, and not just collect them, here's another solution. You can purchase 2 starter decks for actually less than the cost of those 8 packs, and you can get. It's easy to get started in that route. So it's asking the right questions, getting to know the person, and offering multiple solutions to that person, to whatever, after you kind of gauge what they're looking for.
This episode of The Match Slip is sponsored by Crash CityCon, Roanoke, Virginia's premier gaming and fan convention. It's tabletop gaming at its best. In addition to role-playing games, board games, there are vendors, and so much more. Play with some of the top game masters in the area, enjoy a casual game in their open gaming area, or learn to play games you always wanted to play. Attend Crash CityCon August 23rd through the 25th of 2024 at the Berglund Center Special Events Center. You could check out more information at crashcitycon.com.
So I wanted to touch back again on your website again, and one of the items I saw there was that you offer PSA grading, and I haven't heard of a store doing this before. So I was wondering if you could share how you got involved in that.
Yeah, so some of the local stores around here do PSA grading. Like, if you purchase a card from them and you rip it in front of them, they'll send out your card. So what we have just a PSA subscription. I don't exactly remember, like one of the tier subscriptions. So when we don't offer them every card. It's if we open a card, or if you purchase packs from us on stream while we're streaming, and we open it, you want it graded, you can send us a message. We put it aside. Once we have, we have a whole spreadsheet to keep that all organized with the card, the user, whether they paid for the fee, or they paid the fee already for it, and when we shipped it out. So I keep it all tracked and organized. So if someone opens, or we rip a pack of Pokemon cards, they get a nice hit out of it, it looks good, they want it graded, we send it out with our pack of 20 cards. So we save up. I have some of my own personal cards I send out to get graded. You can't see them, but I have a bunch of PSA graded cards on a rack behind me. So it's just a fun way for, one, me to get cards graded, and two, to get people graded cards at a discounted rate without having to pay a premium subscription that they wouldn't necessarily use, if that makes sense. So sending out a bunch of cards at once as a collective group, as opposed to paying like the premium fees for a single card.
What would you say are some of your future plans for the store as we wind up here? I'm curious as to how you forecast what you may want to do down the line, and any future plan you could factor it in from the standpoint of what you're thinking from a financial standpoint, or even what you're thinking of from a lofty goal.
So, the main thing is to keep growing the margins, or keep growing the profits, and that starts with the product that I'm selling. We kind of hit on it earlier. It's like, finding the right product, finding the thing that's going to be most profitable for me, and something I just started doing. If you look on my site, there's only a few listed right now, but selling singles is huge in terms of profitability. Not something I was doing originally. Something I am going to start doing now. So growing that business right now, I only have a handful of Lorcana cards posted, but I'm looking to expand that to Pokemon, or some of the other bigger trading card games out there as well, to help increase the margins. Like I said, once we have that down, I want to keep growing my sealed product business as well. I want people to come to my website, and I want something for everyone. Not everyone's going to play Pokemon. So what other options do I have? One Piece, Dragon Ball Z, maybe Yu-Gi-Oh in the near future. So keep continuing to grow that. So I offer, or have a solution for everyone that wants to come to my website. And ultimately, like we mentioned at the start of this podcast here, is getting a brick and mortar store. I would love to get that brick and mortar store up and running. But it starts with me growing this online business and continuing to grow when I do have that brick and mortar store as well. I don't want to just be get rid of the website once I have the store itself. It's continuing to grow that business because it's a whole new clientele.
Do you feel that because you are currently online only, that with growing the sealed product that you currently have in your inventory, do you feel like you may have a little bit of an advantage there with being able to potentially either buy more sealed product or make a better profit margin, since we know profit margins on sealed are normally lower? I'm curious if, because you don't have the additional added expenses, the overhead with a brick and mortar store, if you're able to profit more from a sealed box than, say, a brick and mortar store would.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. I definitely pull in more of the profits because I don't have the overhead costs of a brick and mortar store. But at the same time, and something I keep fighting myself with is I want to offer products at the best price I can as well. So not only being or having the product to offer or to sell to someone, but I want to offer it to them at a good cost. I know it's probably shooting myself in the foot sometimes, but um, again, I wanted to have a welcoming website, user friendly, and a cost friendly website as well. So maybe something I need to reevaluate or to kind of expand on, but knowing the market value is important for that as well. So
If you're comfortable talking about it, I was wondering what is like an acceptable margin percentage on booster boxes for you?
it depends on the booster box. So like I don't have Magic the Gathering cards. I don't sell them. I would love to sell them, but I wouldn't be nearly as profitable on those products, which is why I honestly haven't gotten into them yet. Um, but boxes like Pokemon, I can sell for under MSRP, which I think is like for some reason like 180 for a booster box. I don't know any place that actually sells Pokemon for that cost. There's definitely more wiggle room with products like Pokemon or Lorcana, for example. Like you can, and maybe I'll get into it anyways. But yeah, I mean, you can get with wholesale pricing, you can get some of those booster boxes for just under $100, and you can turn around, still make a hefty profit off of them while selling under MSRP. That you would see at some of these big box stores that do sell trading cards as well, like Walmart or Target or even Best Buy.
And as we wrap up here, John, I want to thank you first for coming on the show. It was fun getting to hear about what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job, and I'm looking forward to seeing how your store progresses and seeing like the day when you get to achieve that dream of opening the brick and mortar store. So before we head out here, I'd like to have you share with people where they can find out more about your store, where they can connect with you, anything else you feel like sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you visit our website, just www.theenchanteddeck.com, that's where our shop is. That's basically where everything is. So right from there, at the top of our website, you have all of our social media links. You can also visit our link tree. It's linktree.com/theenchanteddeck. If you just, again, just want to visit all of our social media websites, or if you go to trustpilot.com/theenchanteddeck as well to look at some of our reviews. That's it. I mean, follow us on social media. I try and keep that up to date as much as I can. I'm on that all day long too, looking at some of the posts or what other people are sharing or saying. So feel free to shoot me a message through any social media platform or email me directly through our website, and I'll be more than glad to help you out.
Excellent. Well, I'll be sure to put that in the show notes for everybody to check out. In the article I write up about the Enchanted Deck, you can check out that on thematchslip.com. John, again, thank you for coming on. For everybody else listening, I hope you have a great day. And if you would like to find out more about these game stores I visit in person, you can feel free to do so at thematchslip.com. And with that, we will catch you all in the next episode. Take care.